So there's this game called Oxenfree that showed up randomly in the middle of the 2010s. It looked like a teen drama, it sounded like a late night radio broadcast, and it ended up haunting a whole generation of indie game lovers. And I mean haunting in the best possible way. It didn't blow up like a AAA blockbuster, but over time it burrowed into people's minds, and now, almost a decade later, it's got that rare badge of honour. It is a cult classic. But how did it get there? We're going to talk about that, but before we do, if you end up enjoying the video, then please consider subscribing, as we are trying to reach 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and it was also my birthday a couple days ago, so it'd be a really nice present. But enough of that nonsense, let's start with what Oxenfree is. So, it's night time, you're on a ferry, you're heading towards a secluded island with a handful of friends, and your stepbrother, all of whom are dealing with their own messy emotional baggage. There's music playing, the sky is clear, everything feels like it should be harmless. That's Oxenfree's first trick. It lulls you in. You are Alex, a blue-haired teenager who's smart, guarded, and quietly grieving the loss of your brother, Michael. You're joined by your friend Ren, your new stepbrother Jonas, and a couple of other people, each with their own complicated ties to you and each other. It starts off small. A bonfire, some teen banter, some jokes, some awkward silences, maybe even a flirt or two, but there's this undertone, a kind of emptiness on the island. It's too quiet. The buildings are abandoned, there's leftover Cold War military equipment rustling into the dirt, and right from the get-go, you just know that something is off. And then, something is off. The little radio mechanic does so much heavy lifting here. You are literally tuning through the electromagnetic leftovers of the island's past. You've got crackling voices, number stations, distorted music, old propaganda. It's not necessarily creepy, but it's really immersive. You're digging into invisible layers of this place, as if you're peeling back wallpaper to find something that shouldn't have been peeled back. But the beauty is that the radio doesn't explain anything, it lets the atmosphere do all the talking. You're not given a bunch of exposition and told to sat there twiddling your thumbs. You're just hearing things that feel wrong in a way that's difficult to describe. And that's where Oxenfree really sets itself apart. The atmosphere isn't just creepy or haunted. Oxenfree is not a horror game, it's just liminal. Like you've stepped into a place that used to be real, but now it's kind of stuck between. It's like as if it were a ghost town, but in time. The visual design supports all of this perfectly. The art style feels hand-painted and storybook-like, with soft lighting and just enough shadow to keep you uneasy. The animations are subtle, characters lean, they gesture, they shift their weight. It's human enough to be relatable, but stiff enough to keep you slightly detached. And the camera always keeps its distance. You're not necessarily right up in the characters' grills, staring into their souls. You're just watching, as if you are somehow stuck in a different dimension, looking in. And then there's the sound. The music is great, it's glitchy, analog, and warm in a way that almost contradicts the game's darker tone, but the contrast is exactly what gives this game the atmosphere that it needs. You'll get these dreamy ambient drones, VHS fuzz, warped synths that sound like a cassette's just been chewed apart. It's nostalgic, but it's not comforting. It feels like memory is trying to replay itself and failing to do so. Every single design choice, visual, audio, interactive, feeds into this growing sense that the island is not what it seems to be. There is history here, there is trauma, but it's not being told to you directly. You have to listen and you have to feel it. And that is the magic of Oxenfree's atmosphere. As I mentioned, this is not a horror game. It doesn't try to scare you with loads of jump scares or monsters and whatnot. It just unnerves you by making you complicit in what's going on. You are the one pressing into this unknown world, and the game doesn't yank you back, it just lets you keep going. And that's how the game hooks you. It doesn't rely on plot to grab your attention right away. What the game does is it creates a mood, and it says this place has secrets. Do you want to hear them? And as soon as you say yes, the game will not let you go. So here's where Oxenfree really starts to work its magic. You're in now. We've done the intro. You're in the game. You're ready. The story is not just about an island, it is about every single person that is stuck on it. The writing works really, really well, and it walks a really fine line. It's natural without being aimless, and stylized without sounding fake. The way the characters talk to each other, they're always interrupting, backtracking, making dumb jokes, changing the subject. It all feels like you're eavesdropping on a real group of teenagers, and you're part of that conversation the whole time. And what makes this dialogue system really special, how it flows, is that there's no pause and pick a choice moment. You do pick dialogue choices, but you're never just sat there watching a cutscene and then you choose what to say. You're constantly walking and talking. You're choosing responses mid-step. You're always progressing the game, and the dialogue occurs in the traversal moments. And I really love it when games do that. You can choose not to respond at all if you want, and sometimes the silence could say more than any option that the game gives you on the screen. This just makes everything feel so organic, with overlapping conversations, people talking over each other, people telling a story but then it just gets cut off due to the plot. That's not necessarily a scripted thing, that's just the way the conversation was that you were having when you got to that part of the story. And tough, the conversation won't go back, you've missed it now. You'll watch friendships shift, you'll watch relationships strain, you watch people lash out or pull closer, depending on what you say. You are not necessarily just shaping outcomes, you are navigating people in a moment of crisis, and the game gives you so much freedom in how you wish to do that. Sometimes you're trying to keep everyone together, sometimes you just want someone to shut up, and both are valid choices, because no one here is necessarily the main character other than you. Everyone else is just who they are, and you have to just deal with that. The story doesn't unfold like a neat mystery box, it unravels like a memory. It's messy, it's layered, it's unpredictable, it's unreliable. The characters change not because the plot demands it, but because you're making choices in the middle of deeply personal moments. Even the tiniest choices at the wrong moment can drastically change what happens. By the end, the ghosts almost feel secondary. It's the emotional wreckage you're left with that sticks. The weird, the sad, the vulnerable, the stuff you might have said differently if you just had one more second to think. It's not just that the writing is good, which it is, it's that it understands how people act when they are scared, when they are grieving, when they are feeling misunderstood. It understands how friends try to hold it together, how people deflect, how they sometimes say the wrong thing at the worst time. Night School are incredibly talented at this type of writing. One of their other games, After Party, which never garnered the same following as Oxenfree, nor was it as good in truth, still showcased how damn good Night School are at writing believable dialogue, and they have the secret sauce in making conversations feel much more organic and natural, rather than feeling as though it was a table read, which is a hole a lot of other games fall into. That is what makes the story of Oxenfree feel real, not because the plot twists are huge, but because the emotional shifts are honest and they're earned. At its core, this is a story about communication and the failures of it. Everyone here is dealing with something they couldn't say, didn't say, or said too late. A lot of conflict comes from misunderstandings that were never cleared up, and now might never be. And there's this big one, grief. The game doesn't shout it at you, but it is everywhere. From the very first moment, the absence of Alex's brother lingers over everything. It's in the awkward conversations, the choices you make, the way people look at each other and fall silent. The island becomes this weird reflection of that, this place where time won't move forward, where voices echo forever and the past keeps looping back. And beneath all of that, there is a thread about memory, how it changes, how it fades, how it holds us in place when we should be moving on. The supernatural stuff is symbolic. It's what happens when you can't let go, when you keep replaying the same moment hoping it'll end differently. None of these themes are absolutely whacking you over the head. They sneak up on you. You're tuning radios, you're climbing cliffs, you're making snarky comments at the worst moments, and then suddenly, you're knee-deep in something really personal. But alright, let's talk about what makes replaying Oxenfree weirdly addictive. Major spoiler territory here, by the way, so if you haven't finished the game yet, pause, play through it, then come back, I will still be here. Okay, so, you finished the game, you make your choices, you try to patch things up, maybe even try to save everybody, but then, the game loops. The ending wraps around and drops you back at the beginning. Same ferry, same friends, same island, except now, you remember what happened. The conversations feel familiar, but they don't always go the exact same way. The game remembers too, and it starts to change. This is where Oxenfree gets genius with its use of the time loop, not just as a narrative gimmick, but as an emotional mechanic. Because when you go through it again, it's not about getting a better score or unlocking something else. It's about trying again, saying the things you didn't say last time, forgiving someone you didn't last time, or vice versa. And the game rewards that, not with big flashy endings, but with variations. Subtle shifts in dialogue, new pieces of memory, different fates. You start to notice how fragile and precious each moment was the first time, how close things were to turning out differently, and that makes each replay feel meaningful. The time loop isn't just a sci-fi twist, it's the perfect metaphor for grief, for regret, and for the temptation to relive the past until it finally goes right. Except it never can. That's the emotional weight of it all. You're not just trying to break the loop, you are trying to make peace with it. Since its release, Oxenfree has quietly built one of the most devoted cult followings in indie gaming. It's not the biggest, it's not the loudest, but the people who love it really love it, and it's not hard to see why. The vibe, the writing, the soundtrack, the aesthetic, it all hits this very specific emotional frequency. If it resonates with you, it sticks. For years, it's one of those games people go back to just to feel a certain way. And then came Oxenfree 2. The sequel expands everything. It's a new cast, but it keeps that feeling, that late night, low signal, liminal weirdness. And if you love the first game, I feel like the sequel is the exact kind of evolution you would want. It's not louder or bigger, it's just a continuation. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of the second game, but I disagree with that. I think the second game is also great. Since Night School joined Netflix's game division, there's been speculation about where the series could go next. There's mobile versions, both games are now part of Netflix's growing library of narrative-heavy titles. There's no new entry confirmed as of the time of writing, but the energy around the series is still strong. There's always new fan theories, new fan art, new analysis videos just like this one. The cult lives on. What makes Oxenfree a cult classic isn't its story, it's that its story lingers. It's the kind of game you finish, you close, and then you find yourself thinking about it days later, or in my case, years. Thinking about the people, about the choices you made, about what you might have said differently, and then you're probably going to boot the game up again. Not to win, but to feel it again. Oxenfree doesn't just want to be played, it wants to be replayed, revisited, reinterpreted, like a dream you keep having, just a little bit different each time. It's strange, it's sad, it's beautiful, and if you're tuned into the right frequency, you never really leave the island. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. I hope that you did enjoy it. I apologise if my voice sounded a bit funny this week. I am a little bit poorly. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like because it really does help me out. And if you want to see more videos from me, then please consider subscribing. Remember, we are trying to get to 2,000 by the end of the year. I upload at least one video a week. But for now, that is all. Have a nice day and goodbye.
Worked there and blah blah blah, they hit it off.
Aw, that's downright adorable.